Just to kind of get kick-started before we go into the UFO alien rabbit hole itself, what was you interested in the topic at all beforehand?
Well, not so much. I was very young. It happened to me when I was 21 years old. Now I'm 64.
Wow.
So, and on those years, there were no internet or something like that. So I didn't heard about experiences or even UFO much. I had a curious only for science and hard science fiction in a way, but I didn't have any background about that, about UFO, something like that.
Interesting. So it must have caught you off guard. So
Yeah.
What happened exactly then? Do you mind giving us a little overview of the actual experience itself, and then we can delve into that?
Yeah, I'm living in Israel, and in that year in '81, my brother were living in the valley in Los Angeles. He worked there. He had a little business, and he invited me to work with him for a while. And I thought it's a good idea to have some earn some money for university and this kind of stuff. So I went, and approximately something like 2 months after I came there, we came back after work to rest, and suddenly it happened, right into my ordinary life that I was not prepared at all, and it really changed my life totally. This contact.
Yeah, no, it must have. And I've obviously read the book and stuff. It started off it was an astral body type experience, wasn't it, initially?
What do you mean, natural body?
Astral.
It begins.
Yeah.
This is the main thing that can be confusing. It seems that the visitors did a very special thing for me in that contact for me to understand a little bit better what's going on and to have the opportunity to go deep into that contact, because and what they did by this kind of contact in two different of consciousness is give me the ability to check it or to understand what's going on in that contact. I mean, because I had the experience out of my body in the beginning that was one kind of experience of contact with them, not from the body. And right after that, I woke up and see them in the room, and the contact continues.
I see. Yeah.
So I had a chance to have the contact when I was out of my body, only from my consciousness, only from my, you can say soul or something like that, only from my total awareness, not from the body, not from the brain and the eyes and the ears. And then I go back to my body and wake up and saw them, and then it was the same contact, but I felt it totally different because it was through the body. And the comparisons between them gave me a lot of answers of the complicity of our contact with them. And maybe I will tell the contact, and then we can talk about the differences and the ideas.
Yes, please.
Well, we came back from work, and my brother go to his room to rest, and I went to rest in my bed. It was not a night even, it was afternoon, there was light outside. And I turned to sleep, and suddenly I saw myself out of my body. It was the first time that it happened to me. I suddenly see my body sleeping on the bed with his eyes closed, and I'm hovering over the body, watching my body asleep. And in that situation that I'm out of my body, I know that I'm out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is my body that sleeps there, and I was a little bit confused because I was looking for my body, for my hands, and I didn't find nothing. And it was a weird feeling, but inside of myself, it was like I know that it's this is a natural thing, and my consciousness, or this is me, the real me, and the body is only the body that I can go inside or go out. On that situation, I was like understanding very much about things that took me many years after that to understand. In the situation that it seems that in the situation that you are out of your body, you realize many things that your brain doesn't bother you about. So in that situation that I was hovering on my body, I could see the room, all the 3D world that I'm living in without my eyes. So it was totally different. I was hovering there and looking at the room, and I saw the visitors on the room. There were 4 or 5 of them walking in the room. One of them were standing near my body, looking at my body sleeping. He was like a communicator, doing something with my body that I don't remember after I woke up what happened, but it was okay. I felt good with that. And it seems that I know them in that situation that I'm out of my body. It seems that they were like very familiar to me. And we were like communicating, not with talking, only, telepathically.
Mm-hmm.
They were very joyful. They were walking in the room, looking at stuff, touching things. And it seemed that they were very happy to be in the room in that physical world, because it was like new for them. I mean, what I felt on that moment, that they are not used to be in a body, and they came to my room and have a certain body that I can see in that situation. So we were in a very good mood with each other, and I don't remember nothing about the communication in that situation. And I knew that I'm now going back to my body, and so I went back to my body. I woke up from a noise that I heard, and in the first seconds that I woke up, I thought to myself, what a weird dream that I have, because I didn't know even about the thing that you can go out of your body. And so I thought that I was dreaming, that I'm looking at my body from above near the ceiling, and I see weird creatures. And I thought to myself, what a weird dream, green creatures, and I'm laughing with them. And then I started to think about the noise that I heard in the room, and I thought maybe I remember that I locked the room, the apartment. So I thought maybe a thief came inside and he trying to be silent, not to wake me up or something like that.
What was the noise? Sorry, what noise did you hear?
It was noise of like barefoot on the carpet
Oh,
and
really?
touching very touching silently things in the room. And this is
Wow.
that was the noises that I heard, and I was still in with my face to the wall, not to the room. So because of that noise, and I realized that there's someone in the room. I turned around and sat on the bed and looking at the room. And I had the shock of my life because those creatures that I thought I dreamed a second ago were standing in the room. And the one that was standing near my body was standing half a meter from me, looking at me with his black, big eyes. And I was, I was, I don't think I had never afraid
Mm.
like in that seconds that I saw them, because you first I didn't see any visuals of the green creatures on that time. At 81, no internet, no nothing,
Hmm.
and I thought the first I thinking was that I lost my mind
Yeah.
mainly, or I lost my mind, or I'm still continue the weird dream, and I'm thinking that I wake up, so I pinch my hand and my leg, and the pain. I realize that I'm awake, and they are standing there. They are not doing nothing. They are. I think that they were surprised or not. I don't know. Maybe it was on purpose that they did that. That I will wake up. I still don't know. But I realized that it was an attention because of that. I wake up after the out of body. It gave me a much more comfortable situation to stand up for this physical contact, because it was very frightened.
Mm.
It seems that our body is not used to that.
Mm.
I don't know how to say it. It was a different frequency maybe, or different energy, or instinct bodily fear of something that you don't know. What are they? Maybe they are dangerous, maybe they want to harm me.
Mm.
The first instinct was very very frightened, and I didn't know what to do. And because I had a memory of the good contact we had before, I tried to think maybe it's my fear, maybe I'm just afraid, and these creatures were the same that I saw a minute ago, and they were okay, and we were laughing. And as I did that, and I tried to lower my fear, I really realized that this is my fear, and it's not trying to harm me. And another thing that, with the alarming frozen body of fear, I heard a noise in my head that I didn't know how to understand it. And and the what I felt with that noise in my head, that they are realizing everything that I feel. It seems like they can understand my feelings. They know that I'm afraid. They know that what I'm thinking. And I was afraid of that even more, because I thought that maybe they are trying to control me, and
Mm.
and they are very strong, much more than me, that they can read my mind, that they can read my feelings. But after I lower my fear a little bit, I started to understand that the noise that I hear in my head, it's not a noise, it's the communication with them.
I see.
And as more as I lower the fear, the communication become to be clear. And that started amazing communication, because what I realized, that the communication is not that they are talking to me and I'm talking to them in a um, like in waves or something like that. It was like they gave me the ability, they gave to my consciousness the ability to be open to their consciousness.
Mm.
And in the same instance, I realized that I have this ability. It's not that they do something to me, open my mind or something like that. They were just uh, being passive, open to me, and let me go inside their consciousness. And I started to use my natural human ability to do that.
Mm.
And it was amazing because they let me go inside and have their feelings, that have their thoughts, have to realize the personality of each one of them. And it seems that this is the way they communicate with each other and with everything else, that because they are so aware that they can have each other consciousness. And it's not that they had like one consciousness. Each one of them, each one of them have his personality, his own consciousness, but they could do it in a way that they can be connected to each other, and they let me go inside of their consciousness too. So through the one that was standing near me, I could be open to the other visitor that were like tuning to the contact that we have now.
What did they? Do you know what? There's a lot of experiences in you here, and I want you to. I want you to continue, of course, go through it. But there's a lot of experiences that talk about the telepathic
Yeah.
abilities, and the concept of consciousness, and how it's all connected, and how it's like one conscious being in that sense, and they can connect with each other. But I'm really intrigued to find out what did they say to you exactly? What was the most profound or couple of words that they were saying to you?
Well, there were a couple of things that they didn't tell me things. They let me go to share their consciousness and let me have the questions, like what you want to know or something like that. The first question that I was thinking of is where you came from,
Yeah.
like, and you came from a different star, something like that. Was the most logical way to think about them. And they say to me, now they were not saying it was the minute I have the idea of the question that I want to understand, they gave me the answer through the connection that we have. It's like, okay, go and like understand it by
Okay.
yourself. It's not that we are saying you, we are telling you that. This is the real essence of the telepathic communication that gave many answers to many things, because it's like a field, one field that we can all communicate inside and have and share our knowledge with each other.
Mhm.
And the understanding of their answer was that it's like when I translate it to word, it's like we came from a different dimension.
Mhm. Yeah.
But for you, it's the way you can translate something that you don't understand. I didn't understand what it means, different dimension, especially then.
Yeah.
But they explain me that this is the most closest understanding for you for something very far and foreign and alien, like you think about a far star or galaxy or something like that. So it took me some
But
years
that's
to
just
realize
but
that.
that's so interesting, right? That they're like the only way we can explain it to you is that they're like extra dimensional, and it's like how else can we think of them? I don't. It's like they're kind of saying it is that, but it isn't. But that's the best way you can understand it, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And I realized that the way we translate the communication with them, or the way we translate something that it's much beyond our understanding, it's limited. It's going to be limited to our understanding. I mean,
Hmm.
we always have to translate it in our dictionary, and if the dictionary doesn't have words or
Hmm.
understanding of visual, we still translate it to visual that we understand.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So that gives many answers to many things, like for instance, they let me understand that the way I see them, it's not only the way like I painted on the book, on the cover, a green creature with big black eyes. It is the most close translation of my human visual limitations to see something that can be that can be physical and not. I mean, they are physical and not physical. For them, it's very easy to become physical in our dimension and then go out of our dimension and be not physical.
Mm, yeah,
So so the visual is a combination of who they are with our understanding of something visually 3D physical thing.
yeah. Our limited cognitive ability, the way we
Yeah.
view things, so they display it to us in a way which makes us probably not, well, understand it, but also not get completely scared. Maybe because do you know what? Like, I feel like they could just be energetic beings, right? And if we just saw a pool of lights hovering around us speaking, that would be even more confusing. So they put into a physical form
Yes.
more so.
Yes, and I think it's even a little bit more complicated because this way of understanding is like Jacques Vallée. I saw the book with the cover of an alien holding two masks of different
Yeah,
masks.
yeah,
One
yeah, yeah,
one,
yeah.
and this is the way for him to express his thinking of that they can change their visuality. So it's great, but I think it's even more deeper because
Mm,
the visual of them that we see is combined with our translation, with our personal translation. So if you are afraid, you can see the same thing that the one is near you, that's standing near you, and he sees something else because he's not afraid, because the fear or your personal understanding, thinking about what you see can change the visual for yourself.
yeah.
So I think this is one of the reasons that there are many contactees that see them much in a very wide of range of visual differences.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's
The only common, I agree completely. The only common ground I see is that they try to give it to us. Well, actually, I don't know because some people see other things, but it seems that the common ground may be a humanoid figure, but the colors change, the features. They could have, I don't know, 6 arms or whatever. I don't know, but it seems to
yeah.
be humanoid in that sense itself. But yeah, no, it's absolutely true. It's adjustable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Depending on it. And what else did they? What else did they? So those were some of the. I mean, these the questions you was able to ask are really profound ones as well. What else was you able to ask them?
Well, another thing was that I was amazed by the ability to experience their personality, who
Mm,
they are, or what they think, how they feel, who are they, and they didn't tell me. They just been open and let me go and observe them. So I went into their consciousness and started to observe their personality. And for instance, they were very humble, totally humble. It was weird for me because they were so strong. They could hear they could do telepathy. They can come and go from our physical world, and they were still very humble, without an ego. I didn't feel any ego between them or something like that. And they were very loving
Mm.
to each other. They were very open to each other. And I realized that because they are open to each other in that sense of totally open to each other thinking, that they don't have to hide nothing from each other. And this is one of the things that give them the ability to be humble, because there are nothing to show off, because we know each other, we all know each other, and they like love each other because they are true to each other. There's no lying, there's no trying to hide something. So it seems that this situation of be open to each other is very, it's a good opportunity to our heart to be open because of that, because we are trust and know each other very 100%. And when they let me go inside, I wanted to really understand the source of their consciousness and the source of their like love. That they were very loving, and they didn't have any bad emotions and didn't have ego, and they were loving to each other. They're loving to our world, to me, to people, to humanity. And I wanted to understand where it came from, why they are like that. Because I knew that I can go even deeper into their consciousness, because they are open. We don't really know that because we are so limited with each other. We can only talk and say sentences that help us understand each other. But when you are totally open, you can go very deep inside, and I went inside their consciousness. And what I felt that I knew that they have a like awareness of the source of their existence.
Mm.
Like it was like they're aware of something that is giving them life. And it was a very new sensation for me, because we don't feel like there is something that holding us alive. We live, we live because we live. And for them, the situation of living and being is because of something greater than them that give life. And I understood that they know that this something that give life is giving life to us too. But they realize, or they are aware of something that give life and life and love to everything, the animals, our universe, everything. And they are aware of that in a very natural way. And I wanted to understand what is that thing that they so appreciate and aware of that. And the only thing that I could translate to my mind was, this is a strong light of love that they are aware that is giving life to everything.
Mm.
Now, it took me years after that to realize that this is very similar to what we talk about God. Because in the beginning, after years, up 2, 3, 4, 5 years after the contact, the realization of that light of love was so different from our religious understanding that I didn't have the connection. I didn't make the connection between these two like entities.
Mm-hmm.
But now I realize that probably the humans that had a connection to the source of like God have probably the same connection that they have.
Yeah.
And the difference is that they have this connection very natural from birth, maybe. It's natural for them to be aware of that, and live their life and do everything in that awareness. And it's a very natural way for them to live, like a fish in the water. But
Absolutely.
for us, it's something that we have to, to try to believe, maybe, and try to understand, and so that was the strongest thing that I felt from them, and I can say so that from that moment and on, I believe. I didn't know that I believe in God then. Now I know that this is the thing, that I believe in something that is every second holding this universe in give life to everything.
Or what would you say was the biggest thing you took from it? Was it that message there that we're all kind of connected to a higher source of power, of consciousness, and that's where we all kind of come from?
Well, this is one of the things that when I continue to examine with myself, I realized it was very important. But in the contact, it was a very strong feeling. It was a tremendous feeling of love that I was amazed by.
Mm,
But you know, the things that shocked me in the contact, there were several things that after they went and I started to live my life, it was like after an earthquake, because everything changed. I mean, even the simple, it was not simple that you realize that you are not only your body.
yeah.
It changes everything. I like found myself sitting, try to realize what's going on, and that all of my life till now, I was living in imagination of that I am only my body, and here I am, can go out and go in, and it make so much differences to continue living. It make my like urge of life to be different. I
Mm,
wanted to learn science, and and then after that, my curiosity go in a totally different place. I wanted to understand the spirit and what's going on here, and who are who are we, and what are we doing here,
yeah.
and if there are more spiritual being like us, what's going on, and why they came here, and what about the messages that they like understood from them, because there were few things that they wanted me to understand, and it was not in the way that they let me go into their consciousness. There were things that they just like telling me, realize that, I want to tell you that. And one of the things was a very different communication before they went out from the room. After in still when I'm sitting there and you know sitting frozen in the minutes of the communication, because it was very hard, it was not easy, even that I felt good, even that I felt the immense love that
Mm,
I felt through them. My body was afraid, my body was frozen, my body was not using to that kind of energy or understanding. I was so it was not easy, but when they realized that I cannot handle it anymore, because I came to a limit that I felt that my body is going to be, or I'm going to lose my consciousness, I'm going to die, or something like that. They knew that, and they were very worried that I will not damage from the contact with them. So they went. But before they went, they started to give me a kind of understanding in in a kind of vision or a dream. it looked like a dream that I'm dreaming from inside. That I dream myself suddenly I dream myself, I see myself in a very natural, beautiful place I'm standing on the green grass in the beautiful forest and the blue sky. And near me, there were a couple of cows eating the grass, and everything was quiet. And I remember the noises of the birds singing, and suddenly I hear a strong roar from the horizon, and I see smoke and the orange flames come from the horizon, and in a second burn everything with the cows. And all I see is that I'm standing there, and I see all the nature as black ashes. And it was very sad. I felt very sad to see that, because the cows were like looking at my eyes before the fire catch them, and they're like watching at my eyes and trying to tell me something, like why you don't, or why you don't stop that, or you can stop that. So that fire was not like they are warning me that this is going to happen. What they meant by this vision was, and I heard that many people that have experiences had the same vision in a maybe different way, but the same understanding that we have to be careful with our environment, our life, our the way of we live, because we can destroy our home. I don't know why they did that. Probably because I understand now that many thousands and hundreds of thousands of experiences, they gave them the same vision, that probably we have to wake up to something.
Yeah.
That it won't happen. But I'm optimistic. I don't think it will be happening. And then after that, they went out of the room. And the way they did that is like showing me something that was very weird for me in that situation. I didn't. I remember that I thought that I'm completely losing my mind, but it seems that there was a reason for them showing me that. They showed me how they disappear from my eyes. They came to the corner of the room, and they started to. They stand in a circle, hold their hands with each other hands, started to run in a circle motion, and that circle motion became faster and faster. It became to be a circle of light, a very strong light that became to be smaller and smaller till it became to a point of light, a very small one, and then disappeared from my eyes.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the way they disappeared.
What an exit.
Yeah, and so many years after that, I connected that with the visual of the UFO that many saw just the same. That
Yeah.
the UFO suddenly became smaller, became a small light, and disappeared.
It's true. Yeah, yeah.
So I never. They didn't talk about UFO at all with me. Nothing technical. So I don't have any idea about UFOs actually, but I have many connections between the contact and the situation now in our world with the UFOs and the disclosure that we want so much, and I'm waiting for more than 40 years now for the disclosure. But the contact let me understand that it is very complicated, and probably the consciousness thing that is the main thing in our communication with them is the complicated thing that we probably need to understand to have the disclosure and contact with them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't understand. I don't see any other way for them to contact with us, and they are not doing it in a physical way. They are waiting for us to understand that this is something else, and
Yeah. No, it's true.
that's why experiences are very important. That they should talk, and even that they are not understand what is going on, and they have to tell the story, and that we can all together try to find out what we need to understand, what we need to learn to have the ability to contact them.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Do you know, like, I think, I think you summed it up before when you said you didn't know. Well, you basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but you said you didn't know what to do with that information. You was like, what is this? What's the meaning of life? You wanted to search for answers. You became more curious. And I'm sure you've listened to tons of people who've had their own experiences. I myself have had my own experiences. This is why I'm, I didn't wake up one day thinking, oh, I'm gonna, I believe in aliens, or I'm gonna like start doing a podcast, right? I've had my own weird experiences myself. And what it does, it just changes your whole idea of what you think reality is. You're like, it gives you that curiosity to search for an answer, to try to get some sort of information from it, or like just to find out what the hell you experience. And it seems to be a common theme, and it seems like maybe this is the sole point of it, as you said, right? To give people the ammunition in many ways, or give people the kind of the impetus to go out and then start creating some noise around the topic, discussing it and trying to search for those answers. And maybe that is the way we can then try to understand. I mean, I don't think we can ever understand this whole thing completely, because it's so profound and so deep on so many levels. And before I got into the topic, well, I've always been involved with it because I've had some stuff from early age, but
You
I
you
always deemed
told
it
you
as,
told about that. There is
yeah, I've talked to, I mean that thing behind me, I've done podcasts before, but you can see
I
that.
will look for the podcast.
Yeah, but I'm trying to point it on my thing here. It's not very good here. See, there we go. Here we go. Great. That I drew that when I was 7 years old. For
The
my,
one that walking on the road
no,
to.
no, the one on the side. You see the little. There's a little birthday card. You see like a little yellow light and a UFO there and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a birthday card. I drew that for my grandma for a birthday card when I was like 7 or 8.
Well,
And I used to have a lot of like weird experience as a kid. My mum and dad used to tell me some weird things, and I used to, and even growing up, I've like, but all of it has been very like in a hypnagogic state, a sleep state, consciousness type state, or like a couple of times when I've been meditating, I've had weird experiences as well. Or and it always seems to be. I haven't actually seen a physical. Well, actually, I saw something when I was very young, but all of it has been within that state. But all it did, and as it's done for you and done for many others, is that it puts you in that state where you're going out there, you're trying to figure out and try to understand what is the point of this, and is life really as all it seems? You go to school, you work, all this stuff, and then you think there's so much more going on out here. And I mean, that must have been going through your head itself
yeah.
when this happened, right? Especially you was 21, you said, correct?
Yeah, yes, it's changing everything because we live through our experiences, and,
Yeah.
and the most strong experience is going to lead us in the way of the experience, because this is the most curious thing that is now stuck in your head.
They can't
You
get away.
want to go inside of that, and it's the most intriguing for you.
How did your family and friends did you when you told them what happened? How did they take it?
Well, it was so long ago, and the environment was so non creatures then that
Yeah.
I didn't even tell to no one 5 years.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
5 years I was consume my thoughts with myself. I didn't tell it to no one. But after 5 years, I read, the first book that gave me the realization that I'm not alone was the book of the book Communion.
Mm.
It came to Israel in Hebrew, and the book is full of stories of other experiences that I saw. So I understood that maybe I can talk now about that. And when I tell that, the first one that I told that was my mother, and she was crying. She said, "Oh, you took drugs in USA. I know it damaged your head. You have to go and examine yourself." And I know I understood her. I mean, if someone were coming to me and tell that story to me day before it happened to me, I was thinking the same. I mean, or he have something in his head. I mean, imagination, or he took drugs, because it's a very similar stories. It's like, yeah, we cannot hear. I cannot hear you. Your microphone is not.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
I was saying it's like psychedelic experiences like
Yeah,
LSD and this sort of
yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah. And I think that there is a good reason for that, because they are both meaning of our consciousness. And people don't realize that all these communications, even that they are physical sometimes and sometimes not, all the communication is more in the consciousness level of the field of consciousness that can contact to something different than what you used to, and then what we are used to talk about. And this is a like like a wider level, or a different
Mm.
level of consciousness that we are starting to be aware of. And I think the psychedelic give an opportunity to have some of the smell of that, and because the psychedelic weakened the logical rational mind, and then it gives the opportunity to the other side of the consciousness, that it's not stuck only in the brain, to be open.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you start to realize that you are not only your brain. And science now understand that the psychedelic experiences is not actually in the brain, because when they examine the brain, when they examine one that have the psychedelic experience, the brain is getting shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
It's not lighting with the
Yeah.
stuff. So it's totally different than what we thought. The psychedelic lowered the brain activity and gave the situation for the person to experience something like you are out of your body. And this is another reason why it's so similar,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's the same situation, that your consciousness became to be a little bit more free from the limitation of the brain.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 It's so interesting. It gets the it's that book. I forgot who wrote it. It's called The Spirit Molecule, DMT, and it's how that guy conducted tons of experiments on
Mm.
with psychedelic drugs. And a part of the book as well is quite funny, because he literally says in the first couple of chapters is like, we'll find out if this is to do with aliens. And it's like
Yeah.
the thing is, the book's got really you look at the cover and stuff like that, you wouldn't think there's a connection, but I think the point of it is that when you tap into this realm, which can either be through sleep, consciousness, that hypnagogic state where it's like when you're just about to fall asleep, that's apparently where the sweet spot is, where a lot of these experiences happen. and it's that state there, or the kind of lucid state, or the psychedelic state. And in these states, people have some profound experiences. They meet entities, they go to altered realities, they see their past, future. It's like a space where, as you said, the logical mind shuts down. And you know what, like, I'm sure there's situations where it's literally you just having a trip. You're having a drug trip. I'm sure there's tons of situations, but there's other situations and examples where people are having like full-on conversations with entities. They're getting wisdom from them. Like yours wasn't drug infused at all, and you've gained wisdom from that. You had a full-on conversation with them telepathically, if you want to call it that. So there's definitely a realm there, and it's stuff like ayahuasca as well, right? That's been used for like thousands of years, and how it was made was like through two components, which judging we can say people, ancient historians, whatever, they, how do they know those two particular drugs, plants, if they go together, then it would allow you, because if you have the DMT on its own, then it just breaks down. But if you have it with this one other piece of plant, I can't remember what it was, then it allows you to activate and you have these experiences. So there's definitely a connection between it and kind of your experiences and what people are getting. And I think you touched on it before as well, where you said people have different perceptions based on your experience and stuff as well. And that's why, like, it's probably like you, based on what you've been through and what you deem as maybe not as fearful, even though some people do have bad experiences, then you're presented an entity which you can resonate with and connect with one way or another as well. But yeah, because if you told someone your experience, even today, they'll be like, you was on drugs, weren't you? Like, you was 21, you're 10 the ages of years, you was partying too much. Like, what happened exactly? It's crazy. Did you I was going to ask as well, before we do actually go into that, because we've been going left, right, and diagonal. I mean, this is why I do love these conversations. They're never as straightforward and narrow, a bit like the UFO topic and alien topic, really. And then they flew off, and then you kind of came back to consciousness, and
they disappeared. And I remember that the first thing that I did was shouting, because my body was frozen.
Yeah.
And even that it was a good, very good and loving connection, my body was paralyzed, and I felt relieved when they gone. I felt relieved because my body was in a very bad tense from that situation. And my brother woke up from this shouting, came to see what's going on. What happened to you? Why are you shouting? It was an instinctively shouting, like when you fall or something like that. And I could tell him nothing. I couldn't talk. And he went back he gave me a glass of water and went back to sleep. And I went out of the room and sat to realize what happened to me.
Yeah, I bet.
I was very confused. I didn't know. It was very strong, and I was confused. It was real. It was imagination. If it real, what it means. And I sat there, and I remember that I started to have tears in my eyes because I thought that something bad happened to me. Even though it was a good experience, because there were nothing like that to compare, and I thought I lost my mind.
Yeah, of course.
So I remember that I lowered my head, because I started to drop my head, and I looked at my hand, and suddenly I saw that I can see the veins, the small veins in my hand. And it was a very weird. It's like I'm looking in a microscope in my skin, and I see and I thought, this is not imagination, and they gone.
Yeah.
And so I look to garden of my apartment and I saw trees and I could see, I realized that I could see, my eyes see differently.
Wow.
And the realization of things in that situation took me 2 hours. It seems that 2 hours after the contact, my body was in a different mode of experiencing, even with my brain.
That is so interesting, Yossi. You know that. Do you know why that's interesting? Because I've, this, you're helping me now. This is why this is great, because when I was young, I had an experience, and still to this day, I've never actually, I couldn't explain it, but I woke up, I was having I was in a bad way. I don't know what happened. I was screaming and shouting. I was only like 7 or 8, and the biggest thing which was making me, and it made me feel sick, I remember, was that I was looking at my mum, my brother, and my dad, and they were like, calm down. And everything was very hypersensitive. So I was like, stop shouting. But importantly, their faces, I could see right. Everything was so close to them. Everything was so close. And that's why I was hiding, because they were like, my mum's face was right in my face, like here, but she was across the room. And I'll look over there, everything was hypersensitive. So it's very interesting that you had a similar thing. I don't know how long it lasts for, because I was like 7 or 8, but yeah, wow. Wow.
Yeah. When we have situations like, after accident or fever, a strong fever that lowered the brain usual activity, we started to use our senses differently. That was,
Mm,
I think, this is what I understand.
yeah.
When I, in that situation after the contact, that I started to try to understand what's going on. Why can I started to see noises.
Mm. Sea
I mean,
noises.
yeah, I could. There was wind on the tree that leaves touches each other,
Oh, wow.
and the noise of each leaf have a different color.
Wow.
And the things that I saw, like I think I saw a cat or a dog. I don't remember exactly what it was, but every visual had a noise and every noise had a visual. And what I realized that the senses are starting to communicate like synesthesia.
Mm,
This word synesthesia, I learned much more years after that, but now I understand that synesthesia is something in the brain that is out of communication between different senses that can be for good or for bad. If
mm,
you are, if you know, and it seems that communication of senses is out of the communication with them, because the main thing in their consciousness is their ability to combine different things to one field of understanding or communication. It's like they see everything in differentiation, but not in separation. And
okay.
because of that, each thing have like the knowledge of the other thing, and you see the connection between them, and then you understand each one of them much more, because till now you see only a half thing of each thing that you see, because you see it like it only in a different mode of his own, but he's not really on his own, he's connected to everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And their consciousness is like have the ability to see everything with the connection between them, and it make your consciousness much more wider, and you see and understand. It's like, and I think this is the future of our consciousness, because we have the ability to do that.
Mm,
I mean, we each mother with her baby have a telepathy that she knows why the baby cry. It's not she knows that. And the telepathy is going good with when you have empathy to someone.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the empathy is really a connection.
Mm.
So you see, this is the same oneness of connection give you the ability to widen your consciousness.
They say that the heart is the is like a power tool in terms of an electromagnetic field. So when you feel, it's like when you go into a room and you feel someone's angry or happy or sad, it's because your electromagnetic field is conversing with their electromagnetic field. And that's why I think what you're in terms of the, because when people talk about love and this, it can have fluffy connotations
Yeah,
to it, right?
yeah,
Oh, love and hippies and all
yeah.
this stuff. But it's confirming that if you have that connection, which people do have these experiences when they get this sense of feeling of love and fulfillment, it's kind of like the conduit to connect to whatever is out there in that sense. It's like an internet modem with a dial-up phone. But it sounds like for you in particular, your experience kind of it 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 opened up that portal for you. And then especially after the first couple of hours after. I mean, now that you've throughout your life, have you had more profound experiences
When
itself?
exactly what you said now about this electricity, in the
Yeah.
same situation that I was sitting there on the chair, realizing that my senses are different now, it was 2 3 hours that my senses were like that, and then they disappeared. But in the same situation, my neighbor came into the into the stairs to go up to his apartment, and I when I looked at him, now I'm looking at things differently. I can see the connection between things. I saw it only on trees and on animals, on ants, on the. And when I looked at him, it was an ordinary guy that, a very simple guy. But when I looked at him, I saw amazing lines of light
Wow.
appearing from his body to maybe 2 meters around him. Amazing silver light of something beautiful, and I felt from that like he is have so much love inside of him, so much love, and he is not aware of that totally. He is not. He's like boring, have a hard day, going to rest in his room, but he is an amazing spiritual things that I saw around him. And it seems that each one of us have this kind of thing that we are not aware of, and I think that we are starting now to realize who we are really, and the ability of our consciousness to be open to what's going on, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. So I guess that kind of moves nicely into kind of, because you've got a kind of segments of your book, and then you talk about the evolution of consciousness as well. So that's kind of your where you think we're moving towards
Yeah,
in relation to that, is understanding that.
yeah. I think our evolution of consciousness is really going to that situation that our physical consciousness going to be a little bit more and more aware of our field consciousness, because
Mm.
both of them are existing every every day all the time, but we are aware only to our body consciousness when we are up, when we wake up and go and do things, and we are not aware of our field of consciousness that is touching everybody and the trees and the nature and the sky. But it seems that in we are getting a little bit open to have the field of our consciousness in a natural way. When we take psychedelics, is doing it by force. It's like open the brain, shutting down something, and then you became to a point that you are between wake and sleep,
Mm.
and that's why your normal awake consciousness still connected to the wide consciousness that was only when you were sleeping, or and you still remember that, and we can probably we will do it in a natural way. It's like when you do a meditation and you calm your thoughts, you're starting to get inspiration of thoughts and visions and things that they were not in your mind every day. And we are starting to doing that, I think. And that evolution of consciousness probably gonna get us in touch with each other in a very in more progressive way. I think maybe more like the aliens that can have this openness to each other, and this is maybe the way that we are going to be much more nice to each other and realize that that it's good to be, it's more natural way to be good with each other, and you're going to see more reasons to love each other because now you see more. It's
absolutely, yeah,
because we live in a situation that we struggle with bad situation, bad people, and all these bad things became to be because of our limitation of our consciousness, I think. And when we get open, we realize much more light of each other, and we will start to be a little bit more telepathic with each other, and we see that things are better than they looked only from the rational.
No, it's true. It's true, and I think we would probably progress more as a civilization if we didn't, utilize our energy, money, and everything towards the negative anyway. And I think love stems from empathy. Well, they're both kind of the same thing, right? Understanding other people and what they're going through and connecting that together.
Yeah, I think this is a very good example, love, because the strongest love that most of us have, is the first love that is the first love that you have in your life. The first time that you are in love in a most strongest way. I remember that in those days, I was like feeling in heaven.
Yeah, it's true.
And everybody say that everything suddenly became amazing. Everything. I mean, not only the girl that you love, but everything is suddenly became to be like heaven. And what I think is what happened there is connected to what we say. Because you are so in empathy with someone else, your consciousness is now open to be one with his consciousness, and you are starting to do what your ability is to be open with your consciousness, and you suddenly feel that oneness inside of you, and it's connected to everything, not only to her.
Exactly.
And so, but it's it's only for a short time, and then you relax, and
the honeymoon period passes over.
Yeah.
But you're right. When you're in that state of elation, things just work out better for you. Generally, like you catch the train on time. You don't get splashed by water. All that stuff. Everything's beautiful. Everything's amazing.
Reality changes. It's heaven
Yeah.
now. Everything is
No, exactly. Well, this big part of it is changing the whole reality. That seems to be what a big part of this whole topic is. And so what have you and I know like you now for the last what you said 30 years, I think you've been, or maybe longer, you've been kind of working on things and trying to gather your own knowledge and stuff. What have you been doing the last few years or so?
Well, I'm living. I have children, so I have my work to do. But the most of my time, even on expense of the family, is working on that thing because it is so strong that this is my best time of being with myself is to do the learning from that situation, because it's something very alive and developing. It's one thing goes to open another one, and it widened the understanding to so many things. And I paint, but mostly I write, because in the writing itself, something is like open my consciousness even more. I mean, writing became to be a tool for me to understand myself in a way.
Sure. Yeah.
Or it's like giving you a time to connect to the field of the oneness of consciousness, and having from there, pictures or understanding of things. And the most, thing that urged me to write in this thing is that I understand that our humanity now is standing before a very important time. Here in Israel, it's like we are in a middle of existing threatened days. I mean, each minute can be a missile going in,
I know. It's crazy.
and we are running to the shelter and this kind of stuff. I mean, it's like, for me, it's very strong. I think that, but humanity now is standing in front of very strong historic days of, or to be open to each other and to develop and to try to open the consciousness and make a different reality, or that we are going back and damage ourselves. It's like the situation now is very strong. And I think that the UFO community and communities of, like, even in science, a very new kind of science that is connected to the spiritual, all of us now are doing a very important work of developing our consciousness by this searching of understanding consciousness. And I think this is the work that we should do now to to survive, to continue to live. It's really existentiality.
No, I get that. Do you know, some people have experiences, and then others, it could be a person who has no knowledge of the topic, and they see your book, they look at the cover, they read a page, and then they're like, I never knew this was a thing. And then that little seed plants in them, and then they start looking at more stuff, and then looking at this and looking at this. And that's how it all starts. It's just that one little nugget of information that can open the door. Unfortunately or fortunately, Yossi, you've got the front row seat. You've got a true experience there. And that's your purpose, probably, to share this information to help people, open their minds to the whole topic itself. And it's obviously taking you down a path for you to find out and try to raise people's understanding of, well, the nature of reality itself. That's ultimately what it is, and what our purpose is, why we're here. Where do we come from?
Yeah, I have comments on my book, people that read my book, and many of them say, I was curious and I started to read, and then when I was reading your experience, I remembered mine. Something that I shut down totally and I forgot, and I started to remember, or others that had an experience and didn't know how to chew it and how to use it or how to look at it. And they said to me, when I read the book, I had a totally different view of that, and now I going inside more, and I started to check and learn, and this is something that I think that we can help each other by doing that, by telling our stories and giving opportunities to do that to others.
You've and I think, like, I know people have had bad experiences, but I I've seen some of mine have been quite weird as well, but like I've always looked at it as positive personally, and I've had some weird things as well. I just think there's good and bad, but also I think it's down to the individual on how and what they do with that information. Like for example, for you in particular, your prime example, you felt fear, natural, right? And then you controlled it, and you thought back to your the experience when using your astral body, like sleeping mode,
Mhm.
and you then tried and then you moved it down into another thing, and then the experience continued and it was actually joyful in the end. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that people can hopefully take forward anyway, is that no matter what the experience is, we are the architect of how we perceive that as well. And if also if we're I do truly believe that if we're negative and we're going through a bad patch, we can naturally gravitate towards us bad experiences or bad entities or whatever. So that will bring it on for you as well. So that could be a warning in many ways, I think, if you're getting those type of experiences. But what do you think anyway on the whole topic of if they're good or bad? That's the
Yeah,
$1 million question.
yeah. And I had many comments, like they are positive comments to my book, that, like I told you, but there are others.
Yeah,
There are comments like people tell me, listen, I think there is a problem because you say only good things, and you are very positive, but we see at the world is very bad things, and you cannot change your reality when a murderer come to your room and try to kill you.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, the harsh reality and that. So they there is many people that say that they had a very bad experiences with bad creatures. So I don't I cannot say nothing about that because I didn't have any other experience, only that one that I had. But what I know that if the experience was not like the way they did it with me, that they gave me the out of body experience before, that I could be with a very calm and open to them. If it was not before the physical communication when I was awake, I probably were faint from fear. I
mm-hmm.
couldn't stand that. I'm almost sure about that. Because the only thing that helped me stand the dreadful instinctive fear was the memory that they were good and they loved me before and we were laughing. So that held me. And probably many people that have the same contact like I had, but didn't have the chance to have a good one before, they could stay with the fear. And that
Yeah,
fear in the head can be like, I mean, a very bad experience with the monster or something that is like go into your mind and try and now reading your mind and control you. But you know, telepathy is the way things. I mean, telepathy is like when you when they try to give you the opportunity to realize your ability to have a telepathy connection, you feel their thoughts and you feel like they are controlling you,
mm-hmm.
because this is the misunderstanding in the beginning. But what they try to do is try to be one with you,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Mm-hmm.
don't remember, or we don't have any experiences of being oneness with each other, because we live in a, you know, each one separate with each other, and for us the experience of being one with a different creature or is very frightened. It's like is you are losing yourself, and
Invasive, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, and that kind of even trying to telepathy with you from them can be very harmful for someone that don't know how to translate it in a good way and starting to have the telepathy. They are only feel like there's someone. They have even a translation of they are trying to go inside their body and they do an examine on them and put. I mean, the brain can like realizing a very physical threat from love and trying to be one with you.
No,
If
exactly.
you're not used to it in the beginning.
It's true. It's probably why it's like training or development. That's why I guess the book you've got is evolution. It's an evolution,
Yeah,
right, as well.
yeah,
Well, it's a whole nother topic for another subject, really, for another day,
yeah.
maybe. But we're talking evolution, but then who knows what our ancestors were like? They were probably much more advanced when it comes to this idea of oneness and
Mhm.
connection. We're probably catching up on lost knowledge. That's the way. That's my thoughts on it, anyway. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
It's just, as I said, this top.
A very
People,
wide one, yeah.
yeah, I was
It's a
gonna
wide
say
one.
people like, oh, there's a UFO in the sky. I'm like, there's a lot more to this than just a physical circular disc that hovers around. And once people look at that, and then they look under the surface and they dig deeper, deeper, deeper,
Yeah.
there's many, many, many layers, and it's a very complicated but exciting topic. And I feel privileged, and I'm sure you feel privileged as well, that you're in a space where you're able to have access to this and still be aware of it, because that's the main thing. It's about being aware of the topic, in my opinion. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Okay. Well, look, Yossi, it's been great speaking with you. We're going to before we do finish up, I just wanted to get you to share where we can. Obviously, I will leave a link in the description to your book, and to kind of like where to find you and everything. But is there anything that you want to say before we finish up at all, Yossi?
Uh, well, I didn't thought about a sentence or something
I'm not. You don't.
important, but
It doesn't have to be a big quote. It could just be like, "See you later." It could just be like,
um, no, don't,
no, that's
you
good.
know,
That's fine.
this is something important to finish with something. I have to
That,
write it and to
nah, I'm
give
not
it
looking for a
more
quote.
thought of something like
It's
that.
absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. Look, yeah, look, it's been really good speaking with you, and like this is why I like doing these podcasts and speaking to people like yourself, and just in general, really, because it's such a wide-ranging topic, and it's kind of like the fuel for the brain. It gets you thinking more, especially when there's so much stuff happening in the
Yeah.
world, in life, whether it's kids, family, bills, and whatnot. This kind of really gets you back and gets you thinking again, and that's why I do love speaking about this topic. So I want to
Yes,
thank
and
you again.
that's why I think that you are doing a very, very important thing now with your podcast, because you're concentrating on the thing of the consciousness, and you open many subjects to many people that they don't have the patience to read, so they can hear, and it's much
Yeah,
easier.
no, it's true.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I
it's
appreciate
very
that.
important. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And obviously you got your book as well, which is great for people to see. Do you have an audio book of your book out?
I'm planning to do that. I will do
You should.
an audiobook. Yeah.
You should, because I'm super busy sometimes, and audiobooks are so helpful.
Yeah,
When
many told
yeah,
me that they can work with it, they can do things,
do the
and
washing up. That's what I do. When I
yeah,
do the washing up, it's perfect. I can lock away from a computer, just listen to something. It's the best. It's the
yeah,
best.
I do it myself too. I don't have to be patient to read all the time, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, listen, Yossi, it's been fantastic speaking with you once again, guys. Everyone, do check out his book. Give him a follow on Twitter, and I'll include all his social media pages and whatnot. And Yossi, let's near future maybe we'll get you on again, because I know there's a lot more you're doing, but
Yes,
an
yes.
hour and a half is clearly not enough still to go through this
It's
topic.
only a small bit of the thing that is
Yeah,
so.
just the tip. Okay, man. All right, I'll catch you later. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Laszlo. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Speak to you later. Bye bye.